Professor Wergley's here. Make sure you're saving your files. We're going to move to the next file, which is Onload. We just got done with the slides. We talked about what the DOM was and what the Onload was. So now let's take a look at our own coding example. So I'm going to go to onload.html. I've saved the previous file. And you'll see here I have a div with animate me, and I have a script up here. And I want this script to execute without seeing the problems that we saw in order matters. Remember, with order matters, I tried to access the box. I wasn't able to because the DOM had not finished loading. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to define a function. I have a function, let's call it page loaded. And here I'm going to do what we tried to do before. I'm going to create a variable called box. I'm going to access the DOM. I'm going to use the getElementById method, which is a DOM method. And let's say the ID I'm going to try to access is this ID right here, animate me. So I'll put in quotes, make sure the ID is case sensitive the same, and I'm going to try to change the background color. So let's say I'll say box style, the background color is equal to, let's say, green. If I refresh this page, you'll see the function is not triggered. It's loaded, but it's not triggered because we never called the function. Okay, so let's say I call this function right here, page loaded. I load the function and I immediately call it. So let's see what happens. You'll see I get a null property because it's going to be exactly like the code in order matters. This function's loaded, it tries to run. In the document, there's no element with an ID equal to animate me. So box is null. When I tried to change style, it says cannot read property style of null. So it doesn't work. So what I need to do is I can use the onload event. Right here in the body, I'm going to do an onload, which is an event, and I'm going to call the page loaded function. Now, it's important to note you must include these parentheses. That's going to be a test question. If I do page loaded without the parentheses, it doesn't work. Let's test it. I'll do a refresh. You'll see it turns green. I'll make a small error. I forget the parentheses. Do a refresh. You'll see it goes back to orange. It doesn't load as green. So those parentheses are very important. So what I actually like to do is I'll copy the function name up here and then actually paste it inside the quotes. That way I remember the parentheses, or just remember the parentheses when you're typing the name. Refresh the page, you'll see I have the parentheses, so that function will be called. So the parentheses are very important. Now once the DOM's finished loading, what's that mean? So this body element is loaded sequentially. So I load the doc type, I load the HTML tag, I load the head, set the character set, I set the title, I load the external CSS, I load this script, this function's loaded, it's not executed. I come to the body. The body's going to load the div, it's going to load this paragraph tag. The body has finished executing, so I reach the end tag here. Then this onload will be fired, it'll be triggered, and it's going to fire the page loaded function. So after the body's finished executing, once it's finished loading, once it reaches this end tag, this event will be triggered. It's going to fire the page loaded function. We're going to do some other stuff to show you what functions are like. We're going to talk about the difference between two types of functions, and we're going to do this in the next video. Stick with Professor Wergley's.